give you all the equipment there? Sorry? They give you all the equipment? Give it to the class. الرخصة قصة صار الطاعة بعد الدوام بيان الدوام. لا نعم. Can you turn the light on? Because I can see all here. Plus I left my glasses, but I can see. Yeah, all of them. I can be able to see. Okay, thank you. Huh? No, I left mine in my office. Okay, good, thank you. This works. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله الرحمة المهداة والنعمة والرسول والاه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا ما بعد. Before I go to this, the new class or chapters, that I want to go to the previous one very quickly. Imam al-Ghazali, in the end of that chapter, just to remind you, to remind everyone, to remind myself and you, he made a very beautiful example. He says, if you become too much occupied of just fighting shaitan without doing dhikr, he said, like a person has a well. There's water on it, but there's also impure water might come to it. Say you have a fresh water from a well, but the sewer system try to feed into it. He says you could always try to get the sewer system out and keep taking the dirty water out, or you can put a block. You can block the dirty water from the fresh water, and that's one second thing you can do. The third one is to block it, but to increase the good water. He said there's some people always they're obsessed of trying to resist shaitan, what shaitan is doing to them, and so forth. They concentrate on their sin. Say if a person have a sickness of addiction of indecent material looking in the computer, and therefore they're all resistant all the time. They spend how to avoid not looking to the computer and so forth. He said this maybe can work for a while, but it's going to exhaust you because you're fighting shaitan without any kind of intake. You just output, like you're fighting without any kind of positive energy. Or, he says, you might fight shaitan, try to look away from the indecent materials, but also praying and so forth. Therefore, you have two types of state of fighting. He said the best thing is to fight, to block the shaitan, to create a mechanism by resisting the whispering of shaitan, but increase the level of dhikr. Put more energy in that level. And his genius in his example of this water, because he created kind of a balance in how to have the techniques of resisting the whispering of shaitan, the influence of shaitan on us, without let shaitan exhausting us by being negative in our view of ourselves and always concentrating on sins rather than concentrating on good things, that increase our level of immune system. I might use another example, like a person who's a doctor told them that you might become diabetic. You're border being diabetic. And be careful of eating sugar, I think has sugar on it, and your carbs. Be careful of all of that. And the person just become cutting off of that, but it's not taking any healthy food, not eating anything. He took the doctor literally says, stop all the eating, not replacing the intake, the vegetable, the fruits, and so forth and so on. Or a person says, I'm diabetic, but I'm gonna have do my carbs and eat sugars and so forth, but eat fruits also as well, and maybe exercising and so forth. And the doctor said, that's not what I told you. Cut off on that. Therefore, the better thing is to increase the positive things and the food and the intake, so that your body can be also to be healthy and to be able to resist them. Therefore, this is what we're dealing with in the spirituality. And by the way, there's something very interesting one of my mashayikh have told me, I want to share with you. He said to me, the techniques that he used for physical maintenance of the body is the same techniques he used for his maintaining his spiritual state. He said, for example, he says there's something called wet and dryness is medicine. It's something too dry, you have to give it wetness to it. It's too wet, you have to make it dry. The old medicine tip. And if it's too much heat, you have to cool it down. If something become too cold, then you have to give it some heat. And those kind of things. And he said to me that is the spirituality. The spirituality that you have to know your intake. You have to balance things in fighting sins and increasing your dhikr. And if you are saying that shaitan is not going to come to me, I'm not going to have a technique fighting shaitan, as Imam Ghazali said, then shaitan is going to trick you. Therefore, you have to know how to protect yourself, to get an immune system from satanic tricks, because by doing dhikr, increasing your awareness, but also you have to know shaitan can come to you through the dhikr, can come to you through the ibadah, and so forth. That from the previous summary of how the fighting of riya, he was talking about riya, that how do you, not shaitan not to have you to ruin your actions, with that you not become aware of the importance of increasing your good actions and doing dhikr so that you create a strong immune system. Now, what the Imam is doing, Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, he's talking بيان الرخصة في قصد إظهار الطاعات. في قصد إظهار الطاعات. الرخصة means permissions. It's permissible to show and to display obedience. In ibadah, there's something we do in private, in public. He's saying that it's okay to show in public and to display and to close. You have this private ibadah and public ibadah, and he says that there's a rukhsa in it, and he said, اعلم أن في الإصرار from أسر في الإصرار للأعمال فائدة الإخلاص والنجاة من الرياء. He said you must know that when you do things in private and secretly, privately, it has a great benefit of sincerity. Bring sincerity and protect yourself from showing off. وفي الإظهار فائدة الاقتداء وترغيب الناس في الخير. And if you do it publicly, if you disclose your act of worship publicly, there's a benefit of it for people following you, and you become an example for others, and you have encouraged people to do what is good. ترغيب الناس بالخير. ولكن فيه آفة الرياء. But in it, there's a afa. The afa here means the problem of showing off. قال الحسن هي الحسن البصري قد علم المسلمون أن السر أحرز العملين. He said that the Muslims, they come to know the private, so you do something in private is more likely being protected than the one being disclosed in public. ولكن في الإظهار فائدة. He said, but in disclosing and publicly doing good deeds, there's a benefit, فائدة. ولذلك أثنى الله تعالى على السر والعلانية. See, very balanced approach he has. He said that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praise things done in private and done in public. فقال إن تبدوا الصدقات فنعم هي وإن تخفوها وتؤتوها الفقراء فهو خير لكم. If you done sadaqah in public, it's good for you to do so, and if you give it in private and give it to the poor people, would be better for you. خير لكم. I'm going to explain that inshallah as he explained it also as well. والإظهار قسمان. Disclosing action of worship are two type. أحدهما في نفس العمل. One of them in the action itself. والآخر بالتحدث بما عمل. يعني disclosing what you have done and doing an act of worship publicly. One of them you do publicly, the act of worship is said publicly. The other one you speak about after you have done it. Both of them is called idhar, disclosing the action that we do. القسم الأول إظهار نفس العمل. The first category is to show the action of the work itself publicly. كالصدقة في الملأ لترغيب الناس في ذلك. كما روي عن الأنصار الذي جاء بالصرة فتابع الناس بالعطية لما رأوه. Fundraising. A person raises their hand, said, or give $10,000 or $5,000 or $1,000. You want to encourage other people. Of course, there's a risk of public action, disclose of good deeds, of showing off. But a person should fight that by saying, I'm not going to hold back from showing people that I gave. It's because shaitan going to suggest to you that you're going to be showing off and then take you from the benefit of encouraging other people. And he said, give an example that one of the Ansar brought a bag of clothes, of money, and give it to Rasulullah. When people saw that bag of money his coins of silver and gold, when he gave it to Rasulullah, encouraged and other people start giving فتتابع الناس بالعطية, then people start giving after him. لما رأوه فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, صلى الله عليه وسلم said that, then he said, من سن سنة حسنة فعمل بها كان له أجرها وأجر من تبعه. Rasulullah said, the hadith is in Muslim, whoever initiated good deeds, good habit, and people followed him or her, in doing so, he received the reward of what he has done, and the people after him or her will get the reward of those to come after them. And this is a hadith that the Rasulullah said, وَمَنْ سَنَّ سُنَّةً سَيِّئَةً He said there's two hadith. من سن سنة حسنة وله أجرها وأجر من عمل بها إلى يوم القيامة ومن سن سنة سيئة فله وزرها وزر من غير أن ينقص من أجورهم شيء. And the first one, ومن غير أن ينقص من أوزارهم شيء. Rasulullah said, whoever initiates something good, he will get the reward for it, and for those who follow them, without their reward being diminished. And whoever do bad deeds, you get the sin of their bad deeds and the sin of those who followed them without the sin of anyone diminished. What that means that these good deeds has to be somehow in public. How people know. If you don't say it, if you didn't say it, you don't talk about it, or people have not seen it. For the Imam Ghazali making an argument here, this is good sometimes to disclose your good deeds if it was not with the intention of showing off riyah and encouraging somebody else to do it. You know, sometimes somebody will say, you know, I'm really struggling with my salah. You know, I don't pray on time, I have a problem. And somebody might say to him, you know, or her, you know, I had the same problem. I was struggling with my salah for years. Now, alhamdulillah, I pray on time, I wake up for Fajr on time, I don't miss Fajr. That is not riyah, hope not. A person have purified their intention. That encouragement, that encouraging a person, you give them incentive to do the same thing, that is not considered riyah. Because you see, this riyah, that when people become too obsessed with it, become like obsession, waswasa, like I'm showing off. Shaitan make you always feel like that. وتجري سائر الأعمال هذا المجرى من الصلاة والصيام والحج والغزو وغيرها ولكن الاقتداء على الطباع في الصدقة دي أغلب. He said that in all of other things, the salah and siyam and hajj and fighting for the cause of Allah, all of it, people do follow the other people, but he said more likely, Imam Ghazali knew the fundraising very well, more likely it is in giving is more. When people see people giving, usually you encourage to give. Okay. Let me just, because he talked about sadaqah, let me explain to you two aspects of this. There's some sadaqah is better to be done in public, and some are better to be done in private. The sadaqah given to individual who asks in private has to be given in private. It's better to give it in private. But the sadaqah that for a public cause is better sometimes to give it in public, as long as the person purifies their heart, to encourage other people to give. This is not only in sadaqah, it's money, but sadaqah of time. Volunteering. If somebody asks you to say, can you help me with something? And that person asks you privately, said, can you give me a ride? Can you this? And people are going to see you with them, but you're not telling them what that person asked you. Maybe they think that you're relative or something like that. Or, you know, any kind of physical help we give to somebody that can be done in private. But if it is a volunteer work, that building a home, for example, like you do in Habitat for Humanity. They build homes, and they tell you what project is, and they bring the family actually who they select to build the homes for, and they are the one who doing the nailing with you in front of you. And when people come together, it will encourage the other members of the community to come. Cleaning a highway, okay, or cleaning a park, or even cleaning a masjid. If people come together and they want to do that, and it will encourage one another to do so, if they see other people doing it. For the sadaqah, if an individual level, uh, uh, they used to do, the Sahaba radiallahu alayhim and the Tabi'een, they used to deliver grocery to some people's home, and people don't know who brought the grocery. They put it at the door and they leave. They bring like rice or wheat or flour. They put it there and they leave. But if somebody asks the Rasulullah publicly, said, Ya Rasulullah, I want to be helped, then Rasulullah will ask the Sahaba to help him publicly, because he asked publicly already. He's not asking in private. Therefore, they help him publicly. But one of the Sahaba may go and help him privately as well. But there's nothing wrong with that kind of sadaqah being given in public. نعم الغازي إذا هم بالخروج فاستعد وشد الرحلة قبل القوم تحريضا لهم على الحركة فذلك أفضل له لأن الغزو في أصله من أعمال العلانية لا يمكن إصرار, like defending, when people like to defend their honor, defend their country and so forth, when a person prepared themselves and encouraging people, he says this is an action that anyway it happened in public, not in private. لا يمكن إصراره, it's not possible to make it private. فنبادر إليه ليس من الإعلان. If a person take initiative to do it, it's not about displaying or disclosing, because it has to be in public. بل هو تحريض مجرد, that encouraging other people to join. وكذلك الرجل قد يرفع صوته في صلاة الليل ينبه جيرانه وأهله فيقتدى به. That a person sometimes may pray tahajjud to encourage his or Salat al-Isha, for example, to tell people that he prayed Isha. Salat al-Layl doesn't mean tahajjud, but any Salat al-Layl, Salat al-Maghrib or al-Isha, that you raise your voice so then tell people that it's time of Salah. Tahajjud is better not to do it too loud, because it's not fard. But the Salah, Salat al-Maghrib, Salat al-Isha, you start to encourage people to remind them to pray. فيقتدى به. No? No. He said to increase your voice, because Maghrib and Isha anyway is loud, but he said to raise your voice so that people can know that the Salah have started, or the time for people to pray. But you pray in tahajjud, that you said loudly, but you not necessarily have to increase your voice to wake up the other people if the people are not ready for to pray tahajjud. No. وكل عمل لا يمكن إصراره كالحج والجهاد والجمعة. And how do you do Jum'ah in private? Can you pray Jum'ah in private? Everyone can see you pray Jum'ah. How do you do Hajj in private? You cannot disclose. You cannot make it private. You have to disclose. You have to people. You cannot conceal it. Concealed Hajj, because people know that you have done Hajj. Even when there's a story of Hajj. Just tell you this story. Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah, he mentioned there's a story of a man been mentioned in the books of Raqa'iq, that he made the intention to go to Hajj, and he wanted to have his neighbor to take care of his family in his absence. And that time, when they travel for Hajj, like from Syria, it takes a long time to go to Mecca, and therefore you do your wasiyah, you put a lot money on the neighbors so that for a whole year. For this man sent his son to go to his neighbor so he can tell the neighbor that my father wants to speak to you about a matter. He went to speak to him in his house to tell him that, take care of my family in my absence, and to introduce him to his family. One more time, he's a neighbor. And therefore the son went to the home of the neighbor and found them are eating. Lunch, dinner, whatever time of food. And the son wanted to eat. The father said, don't eat with us. You cannot do it. Don't eat with us. And the son, a child, started crying and got upset. But he said to the man, my dad wants to talk to you. He said, he sent me to talk to you. He said, okay, go and tell him I will come. He goes and visibly upset. The father said to him, what's happened? He said, they were eating, I want to join them to eat. And the man said, don't eat with us. The man said, this is the man I'm going to trust him with my family. He not allowed the child to share the food with them. How can I trust him with my family? But anyway, when he comes, I'm going to ask him, what did he do that? To see what the reason. When the man came to him, he said to him, I sent my son to you, and you didn't allow him to eat with your children. He said, yes, because this food is halal for us and haram for your child. He said, how? He said, we have not eaten for a few days. Like real food. And I've had a dead animal. I brought it home, my wife cooked it, and that's what we're eating. Therefore, it's lawful for us, it's haram for your son. Mayita. Then said, oh. He said, subhanallah, I invited you so I can give you some money. He didn't tell him I'm going to Hajj. He took the money of Hajj and gave it to him. He gave him the money of the Hajj. He said, that's all our reason. The whole money of the year, to take care of the year, he gave them money for the year food. And they can take care of themselves for a year. He gave it to them. He made a deal with a group of people he was going to join them to Hajj. The group came and said, ready to go? He said, I'm not going to Hajj this year. He said, why? He said, I just changed my mind. ليس هذا العام. They said, but you told us you're going to go with us. He said, no, not this year. He said, okay. They would wonder why, he's not in their suhbah. They left. He have done this privately. He didn't tell them what I have done. They went to Hajj, and in Tawaf, they saw him in front of them. They went to catch up with him, they couldn't catch up with him. In Arafah, they saw him standing. Some of them said, we saw him in Arafah. But we didn't get in touch with him. And they saw him everywhere in Hajj. They came back home. He said, Ya Fulan, oh so and so, why did you told us that you're not going to Hajj? If you don't want our suhbatna, if you don't like our company, you just tell us so you don't have hurt our feeling. We'll go somewhere else. But you don't have to lie to us. He said, Wallahi ma barihtu makani. I have not left this place. You imagine something else. فأقسموا جميعا أنهم رأوه هو. They swear by Allah they have seen him in Hajj. When they heard that, his neighbor heard that those people saying this man went to Hajj. The neighbor come and told them, now I know why this guy knows the Hajj. I think he gave me the money of his Hajj, he gave it to me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have an angel, ulama try to explain what's happened here. Say maybe an angel have done Hajj in his behalf. He did it privately, become public. But not he didn't want to make it public, his neighbor made it public. Those people come to know that if you're sincere, which is the story now I'm telling you, the benefit of this story, it went from private to become public, that we come to learn if you're sincere of doing something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compensate you for doing it. Yeah? Now, قال فكل عمل لا يمكن إسراره كالحج والجهاد والجمعة فالأفضل المبادرة إليه وإظهار الرغبة فيه للتحريض. يعني your neighbor knows that you're going to Jum'ah. When you close your shop and you're going to Jum'ah, you encourage other people in the market to close their shop for Jum'ah. That is tahrir, meaning that you're encouraging people to do so. أما ما يمكن إصراره كالصدقة والصلاة. That, remember it says صدقة, there's one public, one private. والصلاة فإن كان إظهار الصدقة يؤذي المتصدق عليه. I love Islam. If the sadaqah, disclosing the sadaqah, will hurt the person who is receiving it, مصدق عليه ورغب الناس في الصدقة فالسر أفضل. Look at this. Even if you're sincere, you want to give somebody money in public, and that may encourage other people to help this person, but that person does not ask in public, asks you one-to-one. He says that person, if it hurts their feeling, make them feeling like less. And even if it may encourage other people, it's better to give it in private than in public. Even if you get more money, it's better to give it in private, because that's what is preferred. Because the receiving end, it determines how it should be received. In sadaqah, you don't impose on them to make it public on them. And very important, unless a person asks for money and you don't know their conditions, and if a person, if come to know his zakah, will not have taken it, then you should tell them his zakah. But if a person is zakah eligible, do not tell them, do not tell them this is zakah. Let's give it to them. If you know that the person is zakat eligible, especially if it's your relatives, your kin, do not give them money and tell them, I give you my zakah. Just give them the money as a help, as hadiyah. Your niyyah is zakah. The receiving in doesn't have to know is zakah. Okay? Very important. When you don't disclose is zakah. Now, قال فإن كان يظهر الصدقة يؤذي المتصدق عليه ويرغب الناس في الصدقة فالسر أفضل. يعني even if it's encouraging people to give more money. لأن الإيذاء حرام. يا الله. لا ينفقون ثم لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى. Quran says they give and they don't follow their giving with adha. He said فالإيذاء حرام. To hurt a person, is haram. فإن لم يكن فيه إيذاء, if it is not hurting the other person, فقد اختلف الناس في الأفضل, and people differed. He meant scholar. فقال قوم, some people said, السر أفضل من العلانية. Private giving is better than public giving. وإن كان في العلانية قدوة, if isn't given in public, it set an example for others. وقال وإن كان في العلانية قدوة, even if it is in public, it may encourage other people. Still in private is better. وقال قوم السر أفضل من العلانية لا قدوة فيها. السر أفضل من علانية لا قدوة فيها. What do you mean by that? It's better to give in private. If you give in public, it's not going to impact people anyway. Like what? Giving a money to the poor person in a refugee camp where other people also in the same conditions. You're not encouraging other people to give this person. It just made this person be known that this guy gets some help from me. It might even create another ill feeling toward him, or create jealousy or anything like that. Therefore he says, السر أفضل من علانية لا قدوة فيها. أما العلانية للقدوة فأفضل من السر. Then if a person does it in public to encourage people to do it, it's better than in private. ويدل على ذلك أن الله تعالى أمر الأنبياء بإظهار العمل للاقتداء وخصهم بمنصب النبوة، ولا يجوز أن يظن بهم أنهم حرموا أفضل العملين. ويدل عليه قوله عليه الصلاة والسلام له أجرها وأجر من عمل بها. Now it's beyond the sadaqah itself, is that any action, good deeds, that in public that would encourage other people, would increase the number of people doing it, is better. And he made the argument, logical argument, Imam al-Ghazali said, a prophethood. The prophet being told to do things in public so people can follow them. I can set up an example. Of course, prophethood doesn't have privacy. There's no man, his private life become public more than Rasulullah. You know more about him. Like you've been shared the information about Rasulullah in private that you stuff don't share with other people about your life. Everything he had done, almost, it became public. For Rasul doesn't have privacy, that much. Most of things have been, but his life, been told. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. وقد روي في بعض الحديث أن عمل السر يضاعف على عمل العلانية 70 ضعفا، ويضاعف عمل العلانية إذا استنى بعامله أو استنى بعامله على عمل السر 70 ضعفا. This hadith, by the way, been mentioned in البيهقي عن أبي الدرداء وعن ابن عمر مرفوعا. This that the act in private, it being multiplied to 70-fold if been done other than being in public, and also sometimes the action in public, if people to follow, encouraging people to do, being multiplied 70 times over the private action. وهذا لا وجه للخلاف فيه. This is not a matter that people dispute over. فإنه مهما انفك القلب عن شوائب الرياء وتم الإخلاص على وجه واحد في الحالتين وما يقتدى به أفضل لا محالة. Allah. Ghazali always like being amazing jewels out of any discussions. He says, there's no dispute about these matters, that the private sometimes is better, sometimes public is better. He said, but if the heart had been purified from the sickness of showing off and become full of sincerity, and in both situations, it become equal. فَمَا يُقْتَدَى بِهِ أَفْضَلْ لَا مَحَالَةً. The thing that make you encourage other people to do it and to follow you on doing it, there's no doubt is better. وَإِنَّمَا يُخَافُ مِنَ الظُّهُورِ الرِّيَاءِ. He said the whole idea of disclosing your actions and doing it publicly, the fear of it is showing off, رياء. ومهما حصلت شائبة الرياء لم ينفعه اقتداء غيره. He said, if the person then have a problem showing off, it doesn't matter if other people follow you or not, it's not going to benefit you, because destroy your own. وهلك به فلا خلاف في أن السر أفضل منه. Then it become no doubt that done it in private become better than done it in public. Now, ولكن على من يظهر العمل وظيفتان. He said على من يظهر العمل وظيفتان. He said, but for a person who does disclose their actions, have to know two aspects of it. You have to do two things. أن يظهره حيث يعلم أنه يقتدى به. Done it in public, when he knows for sure it become a source of encouragement for people to follow suit and to follow their footsteps on it. وأن يظن ذلك ظنا ورب الرجل يقتدي به ورب رجل يقتدي به أهله دون جيرانه. Then he talked about the area of influence. What are the area of influence? That a person might have convinced their family, his own family, they follow or a woman, a man or a woman, that their own family, they see them doing good deeds, they get encouraged, and they're doing it. But the neighbors, they might not get influenced. The level of influence on their family. Maybe their neighbors are not interested, the neighbors are not Muslims. And therefore, if you does it in public, in his neighborhood, there's no good of it. There's no benefit. But if he does it with his family, there's benefit because the family get encouraged. And by the way, in this matter, you have to be also socially sensitive. Listen to what I'm going to say carefully here. Socially sensitive. A person might think by praying sometimes in public, they're encouraging people to know about Islam. But they're praying in the wrong place. Getting people annoyed, praying in the people walking in the path of the airport. You choose a place where there's traffic. And you think that you're going to encourage them to see you praying and they might be curious about Islam. But you're praying in the wrong place. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam have told us that when it comes to path, tariq, atu tariq haqqahu. You give the path, people the rights to the path, the way. You don't pray in it, middle of it. You don't sit in the middle of the thing. Because I see people sometimes at the airport, they're really praying in the place where there's traffic. And this is, subhanAllah, maybe encourage people, make them curious about Islam. You pray in the wrong place. They start to say bad things about Islam. You know, they wish of you that all of you left America, maybe, or Europe. Therefore, you're praying in the wrong place. Therefore, they have to be careful of displaying, disclosing actions in the wrong place because it might have a negative impact. Okay, or somebody sometimes praying in a place without seeking permission in the middle of a restaurant. Allahu Akbar. This is not a private property. You have to ask. Ask somebody, can I pray here? And so forth. For sometimes we do the wrong thing. We think that we're encouraging people, but we're discouraging people. Not only that, sometimes a Muslim passing by feels shame or shy that the Muslim doing this in public. You're not encouraging them. You're making a wrong example of religious, devoted Muslims who, especially if wearing a kufi like myself, or wearing a robe, or wearing things like wearing a turban. It's the wrong message. ربما يقتدي به جيرانه دون أهل السوق. That he said, my people, the neighbors may follow him, other than the people in the market. ربما يقتدي به أهل محلته, that may be his neighborhood, they may follow him. وإنما العالم المعروف هو الذي يقتدي به الناس كافة. He said, well-known scholars and leaders, it's a person that many people or general people or public follow in action. فغير العالم إذا أظهر بعض الطاعات ربما نسب إلى الرياء والنفاق. He said, other than the scholars, if they show that the act of worship, they might people attribute to them showing off or hypocrisy. وذموه لم يقتدوا به. They might say, oh, what he's showing off, holier than thou. فليس له الإظهار من غير فائدة. He said, if the izhar is going to bring harm to them, then they should not do that. فإنما يصح الإظهار بنية القدوة. That a person should do something in public with the intention to encourage other people to follow. بمن هو في محل القدوة. It's a person who is in the area of influence. If a person have influence, then he should do that. ولا من هو في محل الاقتداء به, and also there's a person that people look up to. Okay. I think it's 8 minutes. I could have got to the second thing, but I want to see if you any questions. If I confuse any one of you of anything, that if you have any questions, yes. Yeah. That's in ikhlas. In ikhlas, yes. You should. One of the signs of sincerity, when the matter in action in private become the same. But let me tell you the psychology of this. The psychology of it, it is okay, it's permissible if your level of interest or excitement increase because of the public, if it was not for showing off, but you're happy that many people are out, like we do in youth camp. Youth camp, we do tahajjud sometimes. High schoolers, when they see the other kids get up and pray, it encourages them to pray. They get more excited. If they pray by themselves at home, maybe they may not pray, first of all, tahajjud. If they pray, they might be like less excited. This excitement here is a positive excitement because you're around other Muslims. It's not showing off. This is like, what do you call it, like catching the vibes, the good vibes. Yeah, it's a tahajjud of people praying and so forth. That is good, you know. Spill over, you know, your encouragement and so forth. Sometimes it's about negative energy, positive energy. If you're around people who have positive energy, more likely you're gonna get positive energy. You know, like you go to in Hajj, for example, you're doing dua in Arafat, and the person next to you is tearing up. You find yourself tearing up also. You don't know what he's doing, what dua he's making, but it hits you the moment and said, like, yeah, I'm in Arafat. You know, by seeing another person tearing up. It happened to me sometimes. You know, you feel the positive energy from people. It just comes to you. You know, one time I went to Hajj. I said this story many times. I was not feeling well. You know, when you're in Mecca and you're not feeling well, you get like, I'm going to pray in my room, like I have fever or something like that, and Haram just next to you. But you don't like to go, don't get sickness to somebody. It's better to stay in the room to try to take care of it. Before COVID, way before COVID. And then after it became better, I said I will go to the masjid before Fajr, and I go to the roof. And there's a guy sitting there facing the Kaaba. I don't know the name of the guy, but I know he's from Egypt. I tell you why. Because the person behind him was using Egyptian dialect with him. The man, he was looking to the Kaaba. After I prayed my prayer, sat down. He started making dua loudly. He made dua that so powerful, I had goosebumps all over my body, and I was sitting there, I started sitting my toes like this. Like, it's so intense. I felt like his energy like hitting me so hard. And he made the dua a very interesting way. He made dua. He would look into the Kaaba, people making tawaf. And he said to Allah, oh Allah, those are the Muslims. They came from every corner of the world. Some of them are sick. Some of them have trouble in their home, the wars in their home. And some of them, and oh Allah, I ask you to feed them, to give them security, to help the Muslims. And he started mentioning countries of troubles and so forth. Intense dua. And then he mentioned, in the beginning of dua, by the way, he mentioned the 99 names of Allah. This is a long way. Allahumma ya Rahman, ya Rahim, ya Malik, ya Quddus, ya Salam, ya Mu'min. And he mentioned the 99 names of Allah. Intense introduction to the dua. Then he started making dua not for himself first, for the Muslim Ummah. I have not seen a dua like this. And this just before the Adhan of Fajr. There's a two Adhan. The first Adhan, this between the first Adhan and second Adhan. He made so much intense dua. And in end of his dua, he said, he recited ayat that I recited always here in Surah Al-Jum'ah, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, in the end of Surah Al-Imran. He said, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَاتٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. Then he pointed to the Muslims, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ. Because most people doing tawaf, some people are sitting, some people doing tahajjud, وعلى جنوبهم وتفكر ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار ربنا إنك من تدخل النار فقد أخزيته وما للظالمين ربنا إننا سمعنا منادي ينادي للإيمان. He pointed like this. فآمنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئات. I am just crying, and the man was crying so hard, his body was shaking, and this guy behind him, his nephew, كفاية بقى يا خالي كفاية بقى يا خالي. I know he's Egyptian. That from the accent. And the man was shaking. The man is his maternal uncle, because the word khal. And then when he finishes dua, the Adhan Fajr was called. Just the minute he finished, the Adhan was called, as if he timed it. This is the best time for dua. Then we stood up to pray the Sunnah. The only thing I regret, I didn't know this guy is, because some reason he was relocated. I didn't see his face. I just next to him I see his beard and make this. I didn't even look to how he looked like immediately. And he was relocated. I didn't see him after that. You know what happened? As-Sudais led the Fajr prayer. Allahu Akbar, he recited Al-Fatiha, and he recited the ayat this man his dua with. And I lost it. You know, I lost it. I completely lost it. I said, who this guy is? You know, now I'm telling you, I have goosebumps now. Wallahi, I have goosebumps now. I'm talking to you, I have goosebumps now. I completely lost it. I said, who is this man? To the extent I was put in a hotel not far from the Haram. I used to go to usually I stay in other hotel. I was so like high in positive way. After prayer, stayed there, did my duha. I went to the street because usually I do tafsir. The Hujjaj, they thought still I'm sick. Therefore, none of them came. You know, we didn't communicate at the time with the stove. I didn't communicate with them. They thought that there's no tafsir. I do tafsir after Fajr in the roof of the. Instead of going to closer by hotel, I ended up in the Feather Hotel. I just was like, my mind just, oh, this guy. I realized I went to the wrong hotel. I went back, I find my group eating breakfast. I told them I heard the dua of my lifetime. The place is the Haram. The time is the third of the night. And the person made dua, most of it not for himself, for other people. I said, I have not seen three things like that came in a dua like this. You get energy. Therefore, he did it publicly. If he said the dua by himself like this, like quietly, I would not have impacted me. For this is i'lan, was good disclosure of done it publicly. Therefore, I don't know why I said that to all of this to you, but is the issue of energy that you get feed into the positive energy. Even when you pray tahajjud in Ramadan, Taraweeh, you know it's better to pray Taraweeh at home. You know that. It's better to pray Taraweeh at home. Qadr Maliki. Better to pray tahajjud at home. But in the public tahajjud and Taraweeh is encouragement. You feel the body and the energy of others. If you can do it by yourself at home, it's better to do it at home. But here is encouragement being in public. That's a long answer. Answer for questions. Any other questions? It's 8 o'clock. Maghrib time. Yes. Brother Umar asking the questions about the priorities. This man gives his money to his neighbor who's starving, almost. He didn't realize that he's starving. You know, there's some people that يحسبهم الجهل والغنياء من التعفف. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about them. That an ignorant person doesn't know who they are. They assume that they're self-sufficient, but they are in need. You know, from the Islamic perspective, there's priorities, for example, of taking care of a relative, parents, or a child, or a spouse who's sick, very sick, better than going to Hajj. You know? You get the reward for that, better than going to Hajj. If you come to know that somebody is starving, and you have the money for Hajj, saving life better than going for Hajj. You know? Therefore, sometimes this, يا عمر يسمى هذا فقه الأولويات. The fiqh of priorities. Sometimes people mix it. Is it better for me to go hang out in the masjid with people knowing that maybe my spouse needs me at home, or my children, or, you know, if somebody is sick, especially in need, it's better to take care of that person than even doing tahajjud at the masjid. This has been explained by a hadith of Rasulullah that Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he explained this issue priority. He was doing i'tikaf. I'tikaf is a sunnah that you stay in a masjid in the last 10 days of Ramadan, or any other time, but it's better during Ramadan, and better to do fasting with it, that you devote yourself, you don't talk about any business and so forth, you read Quran, you tahajjud, pray, and so forth. And when you make the niyyah of the i'tikaf, you stay in the masjid. If you leave the masjid, your i'tikaf, in most of the school of thought, have ended. You have to initiate a new one. But Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma was in the masjid, and a man came to him and said, Ibn Abbas, I owe somebody money, and he been after me to pay him, and I don't have the money to pay him now. And Ibn Abbas Abdullah ibn Abbas knew this guy. He said, do you want me to talk to him to you? You want me to speak to him in your behalf so he can give you more time? He said, in shit, if you want to. He said, okay, let's go. He said, no, but you forget. You are in i'tikaf. Why are you leaving the i'tikaf? Maybe after. He said, no, I didn't forget what I'm doing. ولكني سمعت صاحب القبر. I heard, he pointed to Rasulullah. I heard Rasulullah saying that to go in helping, providing to somebody something, somebody in need, to address somebody in need, it's better for you than staying 1 month in this masjid in i'tikaf. Helping somebody who's in need better than staying 1 month in masjid of Rasulullah with i'tikaf, which is every salah is 1,000 salah. So he changed his priority. He said, this have more reward than this. What time adhan? 8:08? Okay. I will stop here so that you can be able to make wudu. I know it is now 8:07, 1 minute before adhan. Thank you. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of you being here. May Allah reward our brothers and sisters in Qurtuba organizing this class. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر للذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. I didn't give a chance to sister to ask questions. Maybe next time, inshallah.
for your help.